Hello everyone, welcome back to GGN. This is part 2 for this news report today. We were just talking about these drone strikes in Pakistan and the eugenicists going in there trying to vaccinate their children. Defining what a militant really is, all military-age males in a strike zone. And I get to this article right here. U.S. soups up kill list, digs in for 10-year drone war. This is all around the news today. Says Obama's intent on making it a pertinent feature of U.S. policy. Again, I just can't stand when they put Obama, because it's just, why don't they just put the CIA's intent on making it a permanent feature of U.S. policy, or the Council on Foreign Relations intent on making it a permanent feature of U.S. policy? This isn't just here. The Chinese, I just reported on that, or they're getting drones. Iran's trying to have their own drones. UK just bought more drones, and the U.S. just said they're going to be buying more drones. Why do you think? Because of this. And they say see, you're supposed to be happy as a tax slave. You're supposed to be happy that they're doing this, because in this tough economy, they're trying to pinch pennies to help save money for the American people. That's what they're see. You should be happy. They're saving money with these drone strikes. It's a slimmed down special forces strike force. So it says that the problem with the drone is it's like your lawnmower. You've got to mow the lawn all the time. The minute you stop mowing, the grass is going to grow back. Former CIA analyst and Obama counterterrorism advisor said. It's an interesting quote, because I've covered about the double tap strikes, about how when the CIA goes in there and strikes in Yemen or Pakistan or wherever, Afghanistan, and they kill people on their wedding nights and stuff like that, they like to go back and they like to wait for the family members who are concerned about their family members' body parts strewn all over their property, and they like to go pick up the arms and the heads and all the little accoutrements and stuff like that, and try to give their deceased members some dignity. But no, see, they like to come in and they like to strike the family members who are trying to help them and kill them as well. They call it a double tap strike in that. So the military has spent the past 2 years, developing what it calls a disposition matrix, or the kill list, a complex database keeping tabs on targets and plans to eliminate them, according to the Washington Post. What's more is the Obama regime expects to keep adding names to the list for years, such as it says officials are saying such assassinations are likely to continue for at least another decade. Well, that's great. It goes in and talks about everything I was just talking about Petraeus wanted to beef up the CIA drone fleet, talking about U.S. Joint Special Operations, Special Forces, which is why they're conditioning the public about special forces and, terrorism task force teams, and torturing is great and everything. We are looking at something that is potentially indefinite, says the CIA's former deputy. So this is what I was talking about before. I've covered this about a year ago, about the U.S. Navy down in Florida creating their own directed energy department and facility now. So it's big time, and we're not the only ones that have it. You can be rest assured the Russians have it as well. Navy's top geek says laser arsenal is just 2 years away. So it's just 2 years away, right? So our directed energy, the term for the Navy's laser cannons, I'd say 2 years, says the Rear Admiral. See, never mind the looming defense cuts. See, I love how they play that, because that's the argument they make, using robots to replace humans. It's a twofold reason. Number one, they're indispensable. These drones, they even talk about kamikaze drones. And what else? You don't have to pay them benefits or anything, these drones. They could do thinking on their own. They replace the soldier. Also, when they do that, then they replace a soldier who may not take orders anymore. So eventually that guy, those Air Force pilots are sitting in those little nice cozy leather brown chairs, killing people, however far away with these drone strikes. They're going to be obsolete too, because they don't want people asking questions, and they don't want people with hearts starting to question the morality of what they're doing. Now, see, they have these drone submarines also. But yeah, the crazy thing is that it's called the theory of singularity, and I honestly, personally, if anyone wanted to ask me, I don't think anything's going to stop it. I don't think any protests, any voting, or any violence is going to stop what's coming, which is the singularity theory, as far as augmented reality, cyborgs, artificial intelligence. It's coming, and the biggest countries, the U.S., the West, and Russia, support it. So everything will become automated. and eventually it could get out of hand. But it doesn't really matter, because the elites themselves, if they get to that point down the road, they're supposed to be in control of all this. They themselves will be turned into possibly these big kind of cyborg machines. They go completely into the Matrix, or colonize somewhere else and leave the machines in that to monitor and control the planet, manage it. Boeing tests microwave missiles that can knock out all electronics. So they're testing a missile. So we already know about an EMP, electromagnetic pulse, to knock out electronics and stuff like that. But now they're talking about the CHAMP, counter electronics high-powered advanced missile project may one day change warfare, says Boeing. This technology marks a new era in the modern-day warfare. There's a long way to go, though, before the microwave can be placed into a missile and used to disable targets without loss of life, but the team is hopeful it could prove to be a milestone in non-lethal warfare. So non-lethal warfare, what they're talking about is creating this situations, manipulating the environment, like I said, taking out people's electronics. And most people will just freak out. I hate to say it. I mean, maybe not most people, but at least 40% of people will just start stealing from each other. They'll start beating each other up, raping, pillaging, because that's how they're conditioned to act. I mean, for the most part, most communities are hanging by a thread. When I see everything, I see if electronics go out, electricity goes out, and the stores start running out of shelves are empty, people are going to start going after each other. They're not going to be, quote, civil anymore. To me, that breaks my heart, because it's just like, why does it have to be that way? I mean, people should be happy. They should be happy. There will be no cops, there will be no government, there will be no one forcing you to pay taxes, forcing you to get a job. You can do whatever you want. You can form your own little communities somewhere and try to be by yourselves and get along, and don't have to rely on this stupid-ass grid anymore. But so many people have been conditioned and brainwashed, I mean, just of all age groups, that you'll be coerced, you'll be forced back onto the grid, because that's the only way for them. Then to another tragic story, Libya. Pro-government forces take control of old Gaddafi stronghold. It says forces loyal to Libyan government have recaptured the town of Bani Walid, a traditional stronghold of former ruler Muammar Gaddafi. So this is just a really sad story, because this is the result of what happened in Libya. Is now these people in Bani Walid. I remember listening to a Libyan that actually lives there. I don't know if he was in Bani Walid, but he was talking about how all these people from S.Arabia and other places in out east would basically be armed and foreigners, and they would come in and they would just wreak havoc on this town, on Bani Walid, and they wouldn't let up. So it's been getting pretty crazy lately. And so what do they do? Well, they don't just remove them, they occupy this area now. So, and then of course, what do you have after that? Well, you have a bunch of people that are fleeing. So it says here, Bani Walid residents say military in control of surrounding districts as tens of thousands flee. So that's how they help them. And this guy's scratching his head like, oh my God, what the did I just do? U.S. blocks Russia's draft statement in UN on peaceful resolution of Bani Walid violence. Of course, I have to keep saying this about Libya, is what? As I saw Afro Synergy, T. West, he made a really good video series on Libya. I'd recommend you check that out. Because I made the same point. People are making the arguments about foreign policy and whether it would be better with Obama or Romney. Just skip right through the crap and say, we shouldn't have even have been there. Why were we there? Why did we support that? What happened? And that's how you get the neocons to shut the hell up about security. The United States has blocked a draft statement proposed by Russia on the resolution of violence in the Libyan town, Bani Walid, which has been under siege for weeks. The statement called for a peaceful solution on the conflict. Blocking a draft statement that called to solve the country's political problems without violence is very strange, said Russia's envoy. This is a case when it's difficult to explain the U.S. delegation's actions in rational terms. That's because what? Their purpose is to create instability in the region and keep it like that. Like in Syria, what they're doing is they want to create more instability, which is why they couldn't get enough to get the regime changed, so they had to create more in Lebanon. So it goes on here. Lawrence Freeman from Executive Intelligence Review says U.S. will block any peaceful solution on ending the ongoing violence in Libya. He said the ambassador from Russia made a perfectly reasonable proposal. Also said what? That the problem is that the President, Obama, U.S. envoy Suzanne Rice, and of course all these think tanks are not interested in developing peace in Libya and in the whole Middle East, and therefore are going to torpedo any moves that the Russians make to quiet the situation. Next up, Israeli jets bomb factories in the Sudan. So bomb factories, the Sudanese regime alleged on Wednesday, after an explosion tore through the facility in the southern capital. Then back to that region, Mali. Pentagon weighs U.S. military options in Mali. They neither confirm nor deny the reports of the secret talks that are underway between U.S. and France, plans to bring northern Mali back under control of the country's central government. And France just sent drones there, and Germany is considering training in Mali. So Russia, Syria, rebels have U.S.-made weapons. So pretty interesting. Lavrov just made a pretty bold statement about geopolitics and U.S. yesterday. Then they made this statement about Syria rebels have U.S. made weapons. They've also made a statement that the Turkish skyjacking the Syrian-bound Russian plane actually put their people in harm's way. So I don't know about actions, physical actions, but Russia's definitely escalating their stance. Obama the Muslim employed to cover up years of al-Qaeda support. So the U.S. establishment admits arming al-Qaeda, but blames it on Obama the Muslim. And they're referring to a neocon, Frank Gaffney, thinks you're stupid. So, yeah, after arming the Arab world, or al-Qaeda in the Arab world, for decades, it goes on and it says that he and his colleagues are attempting to jettison responsibility and all the blunders that have come with the plot on U.S. President Barack Obama. Gaffney, the real reason behind Benghazi Gate was, it says here, was Obama gun-walking arms to jihadists. This was the Washington Times article that he wrote. In fact, Seymour Hersh in 2007's New Yorker article titled "The Redirection is the Administration or the Regime's New Policy Benefiting Our Enemies in the War on Terrorism" compiled interviews from the Bush regime as well as Saudi Lebanese politicians who openly admitted that weapons, cash support were already being lent to extremist groups, many with ties to Al-Qaeda and the Muslim Brotherhood. Plus, you know, I've actually covered articles, mainstream, New York Times and stuff like that about, I don't know if they were Stinger missiles, but some kind of missiles being funneled by the CIA to the rebels that were getting into the hands of the jihadists. So, okay, so look what I found. Al-Qaeda goes underground in Yemen against U.S.-driven crackdown. Of course, there's South Yemen, North Yemen. The South Yemen wants to secede, so that's what it's about. And also, what? It's about trade routes and stuff like that as well. CIA in the West have been carrying out drone strikes in Somalia right across that pond in the Gulf of Aden. They're pretty much, like I said, they're hiding in caves now, Al-Shabaab and them, laying low. Then in Yemen, they're saying the same thing. They're going underground, again, because of these drone strikes. Yeah, so it says exactly what I just said. Despite increased U.S. drone strikes to eliminate, the militants. Here is worrying for top oil exporter Saudi Arabia next door at security of major shipping lanes in the seas of Yemen. So why is that important? The militants actually renamed themselves Ansar al-Sharia. Actually, I think they were just put on the terrorist list recently. We're talking about the petrodollar. See, back in the day, what? There was an agreement made with OPEC that the U.S. would provide security for these Gulf countries, these OPEC countries, especially Saudi Arabia, if they trade their oil in dollars. So after Nixon's break with the gold, dollars expanded by more than 2,000% between 1970 and 2001. It says since most commodities are tied to dollars, this means that if you want to buy a barrel of Saudi oil, you must have dollars. In 72 to 73, the cabal made an ironclad agreement or arrangement with Saudi Arabia to support the power of the House of Saud in exchange for their only accepting U.S. dollars for its oil. The rest of OPEC was following suit and also accept only dollars. Because the world had to buy oil from the Arab oil countries, it had this additional incentive to hold dollars as payment for oil. The cabal's trade partners, dollar imperialism victims throughout the world, hold so many dollars that they're afraid to create dollar crisis. In fact, that's what they're doing in Iran to try to circumvent these sanctions. They're just using all these dollars that they have. But remember what I was talking about, Saudi Arabia may not actually have as much oil as they say. In Afghanistan, China is just starting to drill for oil. Also, in Libya, in Somalia, and I believe in Western Africa, there's oil, so that's why they're there. Are they done with Saudi Arabia? Saudi Arabia's secret Arab Spring. And why is this happening? U.S. may become the world's top oil producer. Thank you.